Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online build video with me, Sherman. Today guys, I bring you Meridia's Fire, the solo Magicka Templar build for Murkmire. I hope you guys like it. Let's get right into it. Starting with the race, we are High Elf Templar. You can be any race with this. High Elf just happens to be a little better on the damage side, so yeah. 32k Magicka, 24k health, 12k stamina with a 1540 magic recovery. This thing's got a lot of magic recovery. 1982 spell damage with a 36% spell crit. Do not stress the spell critical, guys. You will do critical damage. We have a 19k spell resistance with a 17k physical resist. Moving on down to the next part, we do have Major Prophecy on both bars because we are using Inner Light and we are using Witch Mother's Potent Brew. You do not need that, actually. Because you can use Tri-Stat Food, which will give you a higher stamina. But that is one of the options. Tri-Stat Pots, that is going to be the best for this because of the max health, stamina, and Magicka return it gives you, and the fact that it gives you recovery into both. Moving on to the gear now, we are running Vulcan Scoria. This is a great set for this build. We are running an infused helm, but as you can see, the one piece, 1,206 max health. And then the two-piece, when you deal damage with a damage over time effect, you have an 8% chance to summon a meteor that deals 12,600 flame damage to the target and 5,280 flame damage to all other enemies within 5 meters. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds, and it will be going off pretty often. The next set we are using is the famous Julianus for the spell crit, max Magicka, spell crit, and spell damage. And then last but not least, the set that makes this build work really well, Akabari Dragon Guard, because it gives us a little bit of magic recovery, some healing taken, max health, and then reduces the cost of our ultimate abilities by 15%. We get to save quite a bit on ultimate costs, which is really good. Because we are a Templar, we also get 4% on top of that. So we actually get a 19% reduced cost to our ultimates. And then going over the traits, enchants, and types of armor, we'll go ahead and do that real quick. Starting with the helm, medium helm, light belt, everything else heavy, and on the big pieces you want infused on all three with tri-stats. The smaller pieces you want reinforced on the boots, shoulders, and then Nirnhoned on the gloves and the belt. This way you get the maximum amount of resistances that the build has to offer. Alright, moving on now to the jewelry enchants. We are running 2 healthy jewelry with spell damage, 1 infused with magic recovery. With this build, you could drop the magic recovery and go with a spell damage here, because you already get a lot of magic recovery with this. So, moving on to the weapons, we are running 2 infused fire staves, 1 with weapon damage, 1 with fire damage. That's why the kind of the theme of this build is fire. So, lots of fire. Alright, let's go ahead and get into the rest of this and get into the skills. So make sure you get all your class passives, very important, guys. And I've been asked why I don't use Puncturing Sweeps with this. Puncturing Sweeps is a nice ability, it really is, but it's more or less not as effective. And I'll get to the reasons why here in a minute. You can use it if you want to, but I tried it out a few times, I just couldn't get the use of it. Make sure, though, that, like I said, you get all your class passives. This is very, very important. Moving on to the Destruction Staff, fill out all the passives there. Armor, light armor, top 3. Medium armor, top 2, bottom 1. And heavy armor, all of them. You can make this build in light armor. You won't have as much in resistances, and it requires you to use the Lady Munda Stone. World skills, soul magic, you want these 2. You can be a vampire with this, but if you are a vampire, I would advise you to switching to dark elf instead of high elf. Guild, fighters guild, you want to get intimidating presence and banish the wicked, which I did not do because you need that ultimate gen. It's very nice. Mages guild, you want persuasive will and Magicka controller because of inner light giving you 5% max Magicka for each Mage's Guild skill you have slotted. You get another 2%, which gives us lots more Magicka here. Moving on to Psijic Order. You can use any of the Psijic Order skills you like. That's up to you, but make sure you fill out all the passives. Undaunted, the passives are super important. Moving on to High Elf. You want all the passives. Also, again, very important, especially elemental talent. This increases flame damage by 4%. And then going down to craft, alchemy, medicinal use, and provisioning, gourmand and connoisseur. Alright, now that you guys have seen that, let's go over the skills on the bar, and then I will also explain why biting jabs doesn't work out as quite as well as you would think. Now, if you're doing Maelstrom Arena, biting jabs is the one you want to use. So, starting with the first skill on our bar, we are using Flame Clinch. This is an awesome ability. It does good damage over time, and it also helps keep our fire enchant proccing on the front bar. So, extra damage. Next ability we have is Vampire's Bane. This is a great ability. It does good damage up front, good damage over time. It also grants you Major Prophecy when activating, but it doesn't last long. It's 11 seconds on the damage over time, but you have to keep this up constantly, and it's really a challenge. Plus, you need the max magicka from this anyway. So, but Vampire Bane is a very, 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 very powerful ability. It also reduces the movement speed of enemies by 40%. This is what I'd swap out for the biting jabs if you do. But the reason we have this here is because of the Dawn's Wraith ability, passive Illuminate, which grants us minor sorcery, increasing our spell damage by 10%. So really good there. Alright, Blazing Shield is up next, and this is a great shield for any Templar because it gives you a shield based on 34% of your max health. Normally 30, but because we have Bastion, it goes up to 34. It lasts for 6 seconds, and then each nearby enemy increases the shield strength by another 4%, making it very powerful. And then when it ends, it explodes outward, dealing 38% of the damage absorbed to nearby enemies. So really good here. Next up, we have Breath of Life. This is our main heal. This is the best heal you can get on the class. It basically heals you for a ton. So really nice in group play too. Inner Light is here for Major Prophecy and the 5% max magicka, which I already explained. And then last but not least, our ultimate. And you can switch this out if you want to use the Destruction Staff ultimate, which I'll go ahead and do this. And you want to use the Eye of the Storm, but the reason why, 205 ultimate to cast this, and you will be getting a lot of ultimate with this build because of Vampire's Bane. But you can use that, but we are using Crescent Sweep because this does good damage up front, it does good damage over time, and enemies in your path will be hit for 60% more damage, and it only costs us 62 ultimate. We can have this going off really fast, guys, really fast. Next on our back bar, Blockade of Fire. We have this here for a dot. It also does 20% more damage to burning enemies, which, by the way, whenever you use Vampire's Bane, it does burn the enemies. It has a greater chance of applying burn to them. So, don't know why, it just does. So that helps with your damage over time. Next up, we do have Elemental Drain. We have this here for the Major Breach, and, yeah. And the minor magicka steal. So like I said, you don't really need all that other stuff for recovery because this will cover most of it, and your heavy attacks with a destruction staff gives you a ton of resources back. So next on our bar, Degeneration. This is a Mage's Guild ability, and this will grant you major sorcery. So it increases your spell damage by 20%. But it also does damage up front and heals you over time, so that's really good. And then your light attacks and heavy attacks against the enemy have a 15% chance to heal you for 126% of the damage caused. So really, really nice. It's a nice way to keep your health coming in. And then of course we have Channeled Focus again here for Major Ward, Major Resolve, for the spell and physical resistance, and the 240 magicka every 1 second. But while standing in the circle, you do get increased resistances by 50%. So when you use this, your resistances go pretty decently high there. So next we have Inner Light again. This is for max magicka and the Major Prophecy. And then last but not least, our final ultimate, Solar Disruption, or Solar Disturbance. Best ultimate that Templar has. Does a lot of damage up front over time, and then also applies major maim, reducing enemy damage by 30% for 6 seconds. And then on top of it, if you are in a small group, running a dungeon, something, you can also get a synergy from it. Also very nice. And that, my friends, is the skills. So we're moving on now to CP. Standard CP setup here. 66 in Ironclad reduces damage taken from direct damage attacks by 22%. Moving on over here, 31 into Thick Skin, reducing damage taken from damage over time effects by 13%. 56 into Hardy, reducing physical, poison, disease damage by 12%. And then an additional, in addition, Elemental Defender, 56 points. Flame Frost, Shock, and Magic damage reduced by 12%. So we get a lot of mitigation with those passives. Moving on, 40 into Bastion. This increased the effectiveness of damage shields by 16%, and then 19 into Quick Recovery, increasing our healing received by 5. That's a 9% increase with our armor that we're wearing, the Akavari Dragon Guard, and then on top of that, another 8% from Heavy Armor. 2 into Heavy Armor Focus. This gives us increased physical resistance by 209. Anything helps. And then moving on over here, 56 into Warlord, reducing break free cost by 20%. 23 into Sprinter, reducing our sprint cost by 14%. 23 into Bashing Focus, because you will bash, reduces your bash cost by 14%. And then moving on over here, 43 into Arcanus, increasing your magic recovery by 10%. 43 into Tenacity, increasing your magic and stamina return from fully charged heavy attacks by 10%. 56 into Tumbling, reducing dodge roll by 20%. 26 into Shadow Ward, reducing block cost 11%. And then moving on finally to the Blue Tree, 43 into Blessed, increasing healing done by 10%. Now, if you didn't know, Templars get a special benefit. When we use our Channel Focus, we actually get minor mending for the duration, so we actually get another 8%. So we get a lot of healing done and healing received. 56 in Elfborn, increasing critical damage and critical healing of magic abilities by 20%. 56 in Elemental Expert, increasing Flame, Frost, Shock, and Magic damage by 12%. Most of our damage that we do is fire damage, so we actually get a 17% total, or sorry, 16% total fire damage because we are a high elf. 4 into Spell Erosion, increasing Spell Pen by 413. That adds more to our penetration. And then 15 into Staff Expert, 40 into Master at Arms. This gives us increased light and heavy attack damage with our Destruction and Resto stats by 9. I did it again. Take out of here. You want this at 10%, guys. So, 16 into here, giving you 10%. And then 40 into Master at Arms, increasing your damage done with direct damage attacks by 16%. And then 56 into Thaumaturge, increasing your damage done with damage over time effects by 20%. Remember, we're wearing heavy armor, but we're using the thing to give us extra pen. So we get 5k pen. This thing does do decent amount of damage, but to prove it, I guess I need to show it. So always keep your degeneration up, guys, because you want that damage. You don't do a lot of damage to enemies. Look at that Solar Disturbance hitting for like 8k. It's crazy. The boss is up. Yeah, for some reason Crescent Sweep has a weird thing where it doesn't always hit. Alright, but that's the build in action, guys. You got to see it for yourselves. It's actually really good. It's got insane survivability. And it just keeps on going. Like, no matter what you do. It is a little bit slower on killing enemies, but that's okay. It's got just really good survivability. Now, when it comes to, well, like I said, the biting jabs would be better if you are in Maelstrom Arena, or you're trying to do like a dungeon clear really fast. Biting jabs does work out better. But just to show you guys this we did get 3,164 spell damage with the 36% crit. Our crit damage was up 80% just about, and then 5,000 there. We did crit 36% of the time, 60% normal damage. And as you can see here, our Solar Disturbance was hitting for ridiculous amounts. Blockade of Fire was hitting pretty good. Vulcan Scoria was hitting good. Blazing Shield good. All these things were hitting really good. Our Fiery Weapon, though, 8,004. And then, of course, Vulcan Scoria, when it hit, and then our heavy attacks, when they hit, were really good on those crits. So, overall, though, really good build, really good survivability, lots of single target damage, but also a lot of like kind of abnormal, I guess you would say, damage over time and area of effect damage. But it's a really fun build to play. It's really good. It works out really well. And that, my friends, is Meridia's Fire. So I hope you like it. If you do, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more builds by me or other builds by me, you can subscribe. Other than that, thanks for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in game. Bye.